All right, we are live here. What's up, Knucklehead Nation? I'm back again, Adam Youngblood Araby, here with Michael Sugar Bomb Claycomb. How you feeling, man?
I'm feeling great, man. How are you?
I've been great, man. I've been great. Nothing to complain about. I'm back here for Fighters Rep, getting to interview awesome guys like you.
Thank you, thank you. Pleasure's mine as well.
So, with everything going on, I wanted to bring Michael on here to just get a more in-depth look on some of the Fighters Reps mainstays coming up. And so let's get a more in-depth look at what a day is like for Michael Sugar Bomb Claycomb. Take me through a day.
Well, right now, so for those who know, I had an eye surgery back in March 2nd, PRK surgery. So right now I'm
Hmm.
recovering. But 2 weeks ago, I just got cleared. And right now, if I were to describe my day to day, I wake up, do my chores, whatever I got to do to get ready for the day. And around afternoon time, I head over to the dojo. I teach my kids classes, my little munchkins. I love doing that. And then at night I train. I do my fighter training with my father. He's my coach. And yeah, so I just started getting back into sparring. I did sparring for the first time this week, and trying to get back into weightlifting in the mornings as well. So just trying to get back into everything.
Now we'll get a little bit into some of those training sessions with your father and your strength and conditioning program, but take me a little bit more about that eye injury. I remember last time I actually saw you, I believe at Fighters Rep 15. Was it 15 we saw each other, or was it 17?
I think 17. It was before I
17?
got the eye surgery. It was in
It was right before. All right.
yeah, yeah.
But yeah, take me through. I'm not very familiar with eye injuries. Obviously, I'm not an eye doctor. So take me through. What was it kind of like having a PRK injury like that?
Well, I mean, it wasn't an injury necessarily. It's just I've been blind my whole life. I've had cross eyes since I was about 5 years old. I'm also farsighted in my vision, and I had stigmatisms. So every time I would fight, all my 5 fights that I had at Fighters Rep, I was fighting blind, and it was most notable for me during my title fight. That was when I was starting to notice this. My vision was just getting really wonky and really worse. And right after that fight, my dad was like, "Yeah,
Wow.
we're gonna get surgery." And the surgery itself is it's not too bad. It's like a 30-minute procedure. Um, there's yeah, you're like looking up at like a light. You don't really see a laser. Um, yeah, you
You're
don't really
awake during
like
this surgery?
yeah, you're awake. They give you eye drops, so they like numb your eyes,
Oof.
and
Ugh.
you just kind of like look at a light, and then you hear like the like the taser sound, like the
Yeah.
like you hear it, but you don't see a laser when they're like doing their thing.
Mhm.
And it takes like 15 minutes per eye, and that's it. Uh, I would say the recovery is the part that sucks.
As if I didn't have enough respect for you already, just being a lifelong martial artist and just a good dude and a good coach. You have fought 5 fights while damn near blind? Like, this
Yes.
is I hope everyone watching realizes this is breaking news. I had no idea. I knew you wore glasses, but
Yeah,
you're telling me you saw double? Like,
yeah, pretty much.
so
That's how it
you
felt like.
so Michael Claycomb had a whole Korean zombie arc that we didn't know about.
Yep. Yeah, basically, I was blind the whole time.
Dude, you got okay, we're getting into that now. I gotta ask, what the heck is it like fighting seeing double, man? Because I struggle
uh,
enough. I have two good working eyes, and it's hard enough for me to see shots. Like,
yeah. For me, it was manageable enough to where like the double wasn't like too bad.
mm,
It was more like one. It was just like maybe you saw like a little bit spread out of two, but it
mm,
wasn't like one's completely over here and then one's completely over here. Like it
yeah,
wasn't like that. But everything's blurry for sure. Like I can never really see anyone's actual face fighting them. They're just blurry to me. And I want to say the fight that was really like hectic for me was my second fight, Fighters Up 13 against Juan Banda, because that one they had the lights going on during the fight, like the disco lights.
mhm.
So it would like come into the ring and flash in my eye, and I'm like, yo, what the? But it's you do what you got to do. You just got to fight.
That's
Um,
shocking. That was a banger of a fight. You
Yeah,
guys were like that was a neck and neck fight.
yeah, that one was back and forth, man. Juan, dude, you got a tough chin. You know, it was that fight was nonstop from minute 0 to minute 6. You know, it was one of my favorite fights.
And how ironic. I'm pretty sure Juan has had issues with his eyes as well. So you have two guys that can like barely see just out here banging it out. Like
Oh yeah, afterwards we connected on Instagram and we were talking about it and I was telling him about my eyes and then he was like, "Yo, no way, like my eyes messed up too." And we were commenting jokes back to each other like how two blind men were just beating each other up.
essentially,
Yeah. So yeah, it was funny.
so essentially, I guess to get a visual for me and the audience here, pun not intended. Um, you could see your opponent, but I'm assuming almost like it was a very
Like a,
blurry and almost kind of light filter,
yeah.
like filter almost.
Yeah, it was just like a blurry figure.
Yeah.
And then the gloves, I can see the gloves, the color of them, and that's how I was able to like differentiate. Excuse me. Yeah, like I would see like the red gloves or the black gloves, and I would be like, okay, that's red. Okay, that's his glove, or that's black, that's his glove. But I couldn't see the Fairtex logo or the tape. It was just all like
Wow.
one blob of just whatever color the glove was for all 5.
Wow. I'm just I'm in actual shock. Like I just didn't expect this. Like,
Yeah.
I didn't know you have like a whole Michael Bisping like backstory here. Like for 5 fights. Like I gotta ask, like, was that an extra amount of pressure? Like what did it would you say it kind of affected you knowing like, hey, I can't see as well as my opponent? Like, is that just would that play into how you would fight, at least mentally on the mental side?
No, I never tried to look at it like a crutch or anything, and I didn't want to ever use it as like an excuse, like, oh well, I lost because you know. I just kind of got used to it. I did point karate tournaments all my life, blind as well, so I just kind of got used to it. Um, yeah, I mean, I've been doing karate tournaments since I was like 4 years old, so
Mhm.
I stopped when I was like 15, 16. So I had like 12 years of competing blind. So I was already used to it. And then sparring as well. I've never stopped sparring. Even when I stopped competing, like I was always sparring still. So I was just used to it. But once the Rivera fight happened, that's when it started to really like affect me. And that's when I was like, okay, like I need to fix this. This is getting too bad. Like it got to the point where I just couldn't see anything. Like my depth perception was completely off. And I was like, yeah, this is no bueno.
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
Wow.
Oh.
Well, I guess then that moves me on to my next question. What's it been like now training post surgery? You said now you've recovered, you've gotten to spar. Like, do you notice a major difference just in your overall sight?
Feels so much better. So much better. I just had my first sparring session. Today is what, Friday? I had my first sparring session on Tuesday at the dojo. And man, I felt like I can just like, do you ever watch The Matrix?
Hmm.
You never watched The Matrix? Well,
No, I
Trans-
have, man. I've seen
oh,
all
you have. Oh,
four.
you have. Okay.
I've seen all
I
four.
feel like, I
I
feel
love
like,
Keanu Reeves movies.
yeah, yeah. I felt like I was Neo, just like looking at like the numbers and the digits. Like I could just see everything. That's how I felt. I was like, whoa. So it was
It's like I saw a video once. It was I believe it was the guy from MMA Shredded sparring Stephen Wonderboy Thompson, describing that it was like
yeah,
Goku.
yeah,
I was like, that's how I imagine what it's like to spar you. Just a fast karate guy that can move out of everyone's shots. Like,
yeah. I felt like you can just see everything. Like it was pixel clear. I was like, oh, this is awesome. I went from like 140p to like 4K.
yeah, right. You're like, oh, this is how everyone else does it. Like,
Yeah, I was like, oh, okay. So yeah, it
all
was
right.
very, very yeah, very fun. Very it just gets me pumped up to fight again, you know. I just like so I can't wait.
Now, speaking of your competition experience, I want to dive a little bit more into your background. I've seen you at a few events, we're familiar, but I've never actually gotten to ask you what it was kind of like growing up in a traditional karate background and just growing up in a dojo?
Well, I never had a choice. Thanks to my dad. um, I mean, it was always a blessing. I always took it for granted as a kid because I was like, I want to do this, I want to do that. But once I like started to grow up, I started to appreciate it. But it's definitely the biggest blessing that I've ever had was growing up in a traditional dojo. It taught me so many different principles about life, how to be as a person. Um, I learned social skills. Being a leader slash teacher there taught me how to like have confidence in myself. So many like great things came from being in a dojo. I don't think I'd be the person that I am today if it wasn't for any of that. And as much as I hated it growing up, it's shaped me uh, to who I am now, like in the ring, outside the ring, as a person. So it's been awesome. If anyone ever wants to do traditional karate, like definitely Shotokan's where it's at.
That's awesome, man. So take me through a little bit. What was it like growing up in the point karate scene and having a pretty, you said you compete. When did you start competing?
When I was 4.
So a whole decade.
Yeah, basically from 4 to like 15, 16. That was when I had my last tournament.
Yeah, man. Take me through that. Like, what was that like just being a kid, just like you said, having no choice and gotten to do it?
It was really fun. I've always been the competitive type. I hate losing. I'm a perfectionist, so going through karate tournaments, everything's always about like being on point, having crisp technique. Whether you're demonstrating kata, like everything has to be, you know, perfect in a way. So it taught me to be very detail oriented and focused on what I'm doing. It also helped me calm my nerves. Um, yeah, growing up in point karate, that was that's the reason why I look like how I do in the ring. You know, it taught me distance management, timing, countering. That's my whole game, and it's all from that. And growing up in it was awesome. I'm actually trying to get back into it uh, now that I got my eyes good. Um, we just did a dojo tournament, or we went to a tournament with our dojo with some of the younger students, and I got to kind of dive back into the scene a little bit and just be in the atmosphere, and it was really nice. You know, it's different looking at it from a kid's perspective because that's how I like I was a kid doing it, and then now seeing it as an adult looking from the outside in. It's very very fun, very different. Um, I was coaching basically at this last one as opposed to competing, and just seeing the different points of view from a competitor and a coach is like very eye opening and enlightening, and like re motivated me in a way to to want to do it myself. And it's yeah, it's awesome.
That's dope, dude. That's dope, man. So take me through a little bit of what it's been like as a coach now. Obviously you were there, and you may have been into it at times, maybe you weren't, you had the perspective of a kid, but now getting to take that upon yourself and have responsibility for a student and getting to see them improve. What has it been like that for having that part of the journey?
Oh man, that's the best part is seeing the young ones do so well. We had about 10 kids go, including my little brother. We got third places, some seconds. My brother he got first in sparring, and it was really really. I was really passionate about it. To anyone that was there, all people that are from the dojo watching, they saw me like crying when my brother won. It's like you get so into it, and seeing any of your kids succeed, not just my brother, whether it would have been any of the students, just going in there and winning and doing great, brings a lot of joy to my heart. Definitely is something that I take much pride in, uh, especially knowing that I'm the one that helped them to become that. And they're so amazing because of my teaching. It makes me feel like special, and that's something that I hold on to dearly. Something that I'll never ever let go. It's very passionate about it. So
That's awesome, dude, man. I always love stories of giving back. And I think that's just the incredible part about martial arts is the fact that we can learn as practitioners and take a level of progression to then be able to give back to the ones that started just where we were has been honestly, it's one of my favorite things about martial arts. It's
Yeah,
such a great
it's so
mentality to
sweet.
have in life.
Oh yeah, for sure.
All right, man. Well, I want to get a little bit more into also just your dojo, and the Claycomb karate philosophy. One thing I really respect about your father, Joseph Claycomb, is the fact that he's been come out outspoken about defending just the purity of Shotokan karate. Saying, hey, other dojos shouldn't be teaching other martial arts if you're a karate dojo. This is our base and this is what you should stick to. And one thing I find really fascinating when I watch you fight is being able to convert that style over to kickboxing and it be highly effective. So, kind of take me through a little bit behind just your dojo philosophy and kind of keeping that traditional karate style alive.
Yeah. Well, that's a great question. I mean, coming up in Shotokan, Shotokan is the first karate that came up with a sport, a combative sport side of the actual martial art. So it's very unique in that sense, and preserving that identity is something that we value a lot. Obviously, as you see the way I fight, it's very different compared to everyone else,
Mhm.
and it's honestly sad that no other Shotokan dojos are also trying to dive into that realm of like full contact, because point, it's completely different, but it's not enough sometimes.
Mhm.
uh, the karate community doesn't, they don't step into the full contact community at all, whether it's MMA or anything or kickboxing. They don't, uh, there's no representation of it. So for us, we're trying to not only preserve the art itself, but also trying to like get everyone else to kind of join in on it. Because it sucks sometimes being the only karate guy, or Shotokan specifically. It sucks being the only Shotokan guy that represents it. And it's like a double-edged sword in a sense, because like it's cool that I'm the only one, but it's also like, come on, guys, like come with me.
Yeah.
But it's definitely, we're trying to represent the art. We're trying to show everyone what it's about, because no one really knows, and it's a beautiful art. It's I mean, you see how I fight. That's basically the whole art in itself. I do my best to just represent it. Uh, it's beautiful, and I just wish more people from the karate community would also try and represent it as well, because it's definitely a dying art. You know.
That's awesome, man. And to kind of get in a little bit more of the details, right, of converting that Shotokan karate to full contact. One interesting thing that I noticed, because I actually, as you know, I was there for your first fight.
Mhm.
Um, and one thing I thought was really interesting when I was watching you fight, just because, I'd realized you're a karate guy. I'm like, this is going to be interesting. I want to see this.
Yeah.
Was watching you kind of be used to competing in a point rule set where I would see you kind of in your attacks being that point style, of like, okay, I got him and here I am, right? Not kind of following up versus watching the evolution of you. You started to then kind of connect more and more and more and put more pressure on guys.
Right.
What was it kind of like, kind of having that instinct of like when you're competing, you're striking, you're used to that blitz. And then once you got the guy, it's over. Then
Right.
having to go to that blitz and now there's X, Y, Z, B factor after that.
Right, right. Yeah, that was definitely an adjustment, because in point karate, so Shotokan point karate is based off of sword fighting. So the whole idea is like one strike, one kill. If I slice you in
Mhm.
half, I don't need to continue. You're dead.
Yeah.
So in point karate, they hold to that principle. So it's like once you get the guy, they say yame, which in Japanese means like stop or finish, and then you go back to your spot, and then they award the point based on whoever got it right. And then coming into like full contact kickboxing, it's like you get the guy, you got him, boom, and then you get punched right back, and you're like, oh, well, that's different. um, Definitely, like if you watch my first fight with Richie Lara and FightersRep 10, yeah, I was I wasn't used to it as well, and then by the time the bond to fight, the spirits, and so on and so forth, you see me being more continuous. It definitely was an adjustment, because I wasn't used to it at all. Uh, like I had never done any full contact that was continuous beforehand. Like point karate is it's controlled contact and it's you stop. So making that adjustment was very hard. I also wasn't used to getting hit as much. I had to learn how to take punches. I had to learn how to keep going. I had to learn to keep the pressure on.
How to learn how to dodge blind.
You have to learn how to dodge blind. Yeah. And more than one, like it was a completely different dynamic. It took me a little while, but once I got the hang of it, and you start seeing the evolution in my fights, and now it's like someone throws a punch, even if I get hit, excuse me, even if I get hit, it's like okay, like whatever. As to where before it was like, huh, like what is this? It's like I don't know what contact feels like, So it
New
was
waters,
hard,
man.
but yeah.
That's awesome, dude. Yeah, and then kind of to get a little bit more just into your overall stance. That is the one thing that I really appreciate, and that it kind of, and I admit it. It took me watching a few fights of yours to kind of get on board with like, okay, this weird. He's coming in with the karate stance. The hands are low. He's sideways. I don't know how this is going to work out, but obviously you made it work.
Mhm.
Take me through what it's kind of like to be able to strike from that stance in a kickboxing rule set, where your hands are a little bit lower, but you still have an effective boxing range and event, and I would say pretty effective hooks as well, but still able to fire off those snappy karate kicks.
Yeah. Well, my karate stance in a nutshell, we have a longer and wider stance. That way we can move. My hands aren't necessarily like low, like down, but they're so
Mhm.
the way we do it is we say like if your arms are like, like the military ship, like the turrets, you always want them like aiming where they're gonna go. So
Ah.
that's why we hold it like that. Um, that way we can fire at any point. So the whole idea is you always want to always be ready to fire from any position, from any distance, at any time, with any hand or punch or whatever. Um, yeah, so that's basically like the whole philosophy behind the stance, and then we're lower, and we have a wider stance. That way we can move and position ourselves to any distance according to however they react, or and maybe if we want to set something up. There's many, I mean, there's a lot more detailed stuff, of course, but that's like why the karate stance is like that in a nutshell. It's to be able to fire from any position with any hand at any moment on any given notice, like depending on how the fight goes.
Mhm.
So,
That's awesome, man. That's fascinating. I never even thought about that. You know.
thank you, thank you.
Now, we're gonna get into a little bit of my few of my final questions here, just because I've been appreciative of the time that you give me, but
Oh,
I do
thank you.
know
I
you are a
appreciate
busy
it from you.
man.
Thank you.
I want to get into a little bit about those training sessions with your dad and what it's like to be able to like have a full amateur career to, potentially, and we'll get into what the future plans are for Michael Claycomb,
Mhm.
but having your dad be your coach and be your mentor and be there hand in hand with you as you go to war.
Yeah, yeah, that's it's always it's been hard. There's been a lot of bumps. Is definitely not something that is easy. Um, having your father as a coach is always he's your father, and it's hard to not like look at him as father when it's time to look at him as coach. Like it's hard to differentiate sometimes. That's something that I had to learn how to do, and I'm still learning how to do sometimes. But it's also like the biggest like blessing in the world. It's really cool, it's because you never have to worry about them stabbing you in the back. You never have to worry about them
Mhm.
not caring about you or doing something wrong to you or lying to you. Like they always want the best for you, and as well as they know you better than anyone else. So any little habits or ticks or whatever things that you have, like they'll know how to fix it as well, especially because they know you. So it's definitely a blessing, and it's also really cool just being able to make them proud when I'm in the ring. But now that I've been a coach in a karate tournament, I definitely understand the stresses. Like when I was watching my little brother, like I was like jittering and clenching up and like
Mhm.
getting worried. So now I kind of understand how he feels a little bit, but not to the full extent because it wasn't full contact. So I can only imagine like how scared he gets, probably, like or how nervous he gets as being, like I'm his son.
Yeah.
Um, definitely the coolest thing because when I win, he's right there. I get to celebrate with him. My victory is his victory. His victory is mine. So it's definitely a blessing. I think it's a lot better than just having a coach that's not your dad or related. Having it be families, it makes it more meaningful.
That's awesome, man. That's completely beautiful. Um, I do wonder though, again, obviously it is your dad, and
Mm.
as someone that I know, I'm family butts heads. Let's all be honest here. Nobody's
Yeah,
family's perfect, no matter how much they may try to present it that way. We all butt heads with our families, but at the end of the day, we love them, which is why we can make up.
right.
But I gotta ask, have you had those moments in camp or even in training where you have butted heads with your dad where maybe he thinks X and you're thinking B and you feel very strongly about that, but also feels very strongly about his viewpoint?
Oh, dude, like I can't even count on the fingers how many times we've butt heads and argued, said some mean words to each other, and I didn't know I can speak French so well sometimes. uh,
You ever spar
yeah.
him over a dispute?
No, 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 dude, hell no. He's 50, but he moves like a cheetah. Um, yeah, no, he's we've definitely butt heads all the time. Even like even now. I mean, recently we've good. And we've had our chance to like work on our relationship, and it's been awesome. It's been nothing but gold. But yeah, we butt heads all the time. There's some stuff that I don't agree with that he says, and then sometimes he says stuff that I might agree with. Like it's just there's always back and forth, or he feels one way and I feel another way, and then we get into it, and then French words get thrown.
Could you give me
So,
an example possibly? Maybe like I said, on like a technique or a game plan where you're like, no, like we're doing this, and he's like,
like,
no, we're doing this.
uh, there was one time. I was in training camp for my title fight, and he was trying to like trash talk me in a way, not in a way where it's like because he wanted to, but he was trying to like mentally prepare me for what's gonna come at me, whether it's from
He's
the
trying to
crowd.
do the Tiger Woods.
Yeah, yeah, so he was trying to like throw stuff in it, and I didn't realize that that's what it was, and I just like completely thought he was just like talking smack, and I was like, shut the heck up, or you can fill in with any other words, but you get the point. And yeah, I was like, shut up, like don't talk to me, and then I just got pissed off, and I like went into this whole like fussy mood, and I got angry, and it was it was not good. And then afterwards he told me, and I was like, oh, like I'm sorry. And no, just like sometimes there's moments like that. There's been moments as well with like technique. There was one time I got into an argument with him because he was showing one thing and then saying the other, but it's because he meant something else, and I misunderstood. And then I was like, wait, what? Like, what do you? And then we just kept going back and forth. He was trying to say this, and then I was like, but you're doing that. And it's not good. You just butt heads, and then it escalates, and then one thing gets said that's a little too much, and then I retaliate, and then he retaliates, and then it's this big like mushroom cloud of explosion, chaos. Not good. So we've had our
It
moments,
comes when
but
you have a house of fighters.
yep, yep, and so it happens, and I know I'm not the only one, or like I know we're not the only father son duo that's had to go through that. I know everyone does, and of course, like we make up, we hug it out, talk it out. I'm, it's natural to happen. It's bound to happen. If it doesn't happen, then are you really even a father son? Like, it's just the way things go. But that's what makes it more sweet is when you make up and you talk it out and you get over it, and then you understand each other better. And now your bond's just even tighter. Uh, I I don't think many coach fighter bonds are as strong as a father son bond. So it's bittersweet in a way, like you just take it with a grain of salt sometimes.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah.
Well, Speaking of your dad, and you mentioned earlier, through your day, you like to strengthen condition and you have private training sessions with your dad.
Mhm.
Take me through a little bit. What goes on during these training sessions with your father when you are having those one-on-ones and you are in the tool shop working sharpening the tools?
Well, we just recently got back into training, so we're still trying to figure out our workout routines and schedules, but we've had some chances to work out. Right now, it's just like when we work one on one, he's trying to just sharpen whatever techniques that I'm doing, kind of buckling down on how to make it better, refinement. In karate, there's a saying, it's called moichido, which means one more time. And that's kind of like the whole principle and everything we do is like, okay, if you get good at something, great, but do it again. You just keep refining. Like you can never polish a shoe enough. You can always make it shinier and shinier and shinier. And so that's basically how it is when I work with him. He's just trying to refine. Sometimes he's like, okay, now try it from this stance, or maybe try it from this angle over here, or maybe do it this way off of a counter. He's just trying to like spit new ideas into my head to get me to think outside the box, as well as refining. And we're at the point right now where we're trying to figure out what we like, um, how we like to do things more, how we can just get better at what we already know and what we've already done in the ring. So that's kind of how it goes. He just spits ideas and I just take it and I work with it and I give him feedback like, yeah, I like it, I don't like it. Uh, okay, now let's try it this way. And then I like it, I don't like it. Kind of like that. So
That's great. It's a great combo, man. He knows
yeah,
you so well. You know what to work on. You know where to go. Like, that's just awesome. That sounds
yeah,
like a
yeah,
great recipe for success.
yeah. It's awesome, and I'm starting to figure out my body more now that my eyes are fixed. So things feel different, and now that I'm seeing different things, also feel different because of that too. So it's just like a constant learning, constantly refining, constantly getting better, constantly trying to work out all the details, because that's where it's all at. So
Yeah. Now take me a little bit through your strength and conditioning routine and even a bit of your flexibility routine. Like, if I want to be throwing wild, spinning back hook kicks, like a Claycomb, what do I got to do?
to be honest, like I barely stretch. uh, uh,
Of course you do. Like, he fights blind. He doesn't stretch. Like,
I just wake up. um, right now, we don't have too much of a workout routine in terms of like weights and strength and conditioning. We're just doing kind of more of a general thing. Like we do chest, arms, back, legs. We're coming up with a program right now. Now that I'm getting back into training, everything's kind of grassrooting back up because before I didn't have a routine for strength and conditioning, not that much.
mhm.
Um, so it's now we're trying to create more stuff. I mean, as you can see, I'm not Mr. Arnold Schwarzenegger over here. I'm very scrawny in a way sometimes, or I might look a little more scrawny than most. And it's because
I don't
I
know. You're pretty jacked, dude.
thank you. Um, Honestly, most of my muscle just comes from doing basic training in karate. All the stances and postures that you have to do just kind of tones me up the way I've been. Um, in terms of, you mentioned flexibility.
Mhm.
I I used to stretch a lot more when I was younger. I used to be able to do the splits, and I used to be able to just lift my leg to however which way I wanted to. Once I hit puberty, things got a little different. Things weren't stretching as much as they used to. But just doing it so much throughout the years, you kind of just doing the motion, you just gain flexibility. It's just repetition, and then as you get stronger, you're able to hold your leg a little higher when you do kicks. Um, yeah, I mean, I guess maybe I have an advantage because I did so much stretching as a younger kid that as I got older, I didn't really have to stretch as much. So I just kind of retained it. Um, yeah, I mean, like as of right now, like I can't even remember the last time I stretched. Like to be honest with you, I mean maybe like a month ago, I stretched, like actually stretched to try and like get flexible like a month ago maybe. Sometimes I do light stretches just to like loosen up, but it's not like intense. Like, okay, let me work on making sure my legs can like sprawl out and I can like twist this way. Like I don't do that too much, you know. Like that was like a month, maybe 2 months ago. I don't stretch that much.
I hope you realize how insane that sounds to like a guy like me, right? Who can watch you again. I've seen you high kick dude's almost my height. Like, and I'm 6'2". Like, you're very naturally flexible. And the fact that you said you're like, "Oh, I can do a spinning wheel kick, but I don't even stretch before." Like, I hope you know that sounds incredibly just incredible.
It's not average. Like,
No.
well, thank you. I appreciate it.
Most
Yeah,
people need a 15-minute routine just to switch their hips over. Like,
I don't know. I don't know what to tell you. It's just over the years, you know, just you do it so much, you just kind of gain flexibility by doing it. So,
well, that does a little bit lead me into my next question here. We're gonna wrap up soon. Obviously, you've been a lifelong martial artist. You're now in the full contact world in your amateur career. What's the end goal, man? What's next? Where do you plan on taking this? Where is your peak of the mountain you're climbing?
um, well, in terms of like dojo life and being a martial artist, that's lifelong. That's never gonna stop. That's always gonna be who I am. I'm always gonna want to teach. I'm always gonna want to be able to inspire the next. In terms of my fighting career, I was planning on becoming a pro kickboxer at FightersRep, and then things kind of happened. Now he's calling it stops for now. I don't know what the future holds for FightersRep, but if it comes back, I'm always down to get back in the ring. That I want to. I would love to fight for FightersRep, continue my amateur career, and then go pro as a FightersRep kickboxer. Um, but since that's on hold, I'm also trying to do karate combat.
Mhm.
I am planning on fighting soon, maybe around August, September, maybe in like full rules Muay Thai. Um, Trying to see how that's going to go, trying to set things up. That way I can get more experience and then probably head over to karate combat. Um, yeah, I mean, I definitely don't want to just stop at amateurs. That was clear since day one. It wasn't just like
Mhm.
oh, let me just fight times and see how it is. Like my goal has always been to fight at the toppest tier that I can. Try and get as high, try and get as high level as I can and be as successful as I can as a fighter, whether that's being fighter's rep kickboxer professionally, karate combat. Um, in the beginning, I was leaning towards MMA, but not so much anymore. So right now is kickboxing and karate combat. Those are like my two main goals. Uh, if I can get success in that, I do want to be a coach one day. Hopefully, from the dojo, I can grassroots some and be able to like be their coach and take my experience and share it with them, and be that kind of person. Martial arts is my life. I'm never going to stop. This is who I am. I don't find passion in anything else. Uh, for me, being the best version of myself is my goal. The perfection of myself, while understanding that I'm never going to be perfect, but constantly chasing it. And having kids to be a sensei to motivates me because I have to be the example for them, and that's like it's like an endless motivation because it's like I can't be their sensei if I'm not doing the things that I'm telling them. Like I have to talk the talk and walk the walk. I can't just do the talking only. So that's always going to be my life. I want to fight professionally and I want to be successful. I want to be the best karate guy out there. I want to represent karate. I want to bring karate to the top. I want it to grow. I don't want the art to die. It's a beautiful art, and yeah, I want to represent it as best as I can.
Well, I really love that goal of being a professional kickboxer for Fighters Rep. And again, not to give away too much, there's a lot of things going on behind the scenes, but
Yeah.
in the future it could still be a very, very valid goal, is all I'll say. But, that'll mean, like I said, you know, I'm sure we'll see you again. But that leads me to my final question, which is just the always main staple of every interview. Any shout outs you want to make, just because I know you got to get going, you have a busy training schedule, but any shout outs like to any training partners, the dojo, any sponsors, and then I'll let you get going, sir.
I do have a good amount. First of all, I want to shout out you and Fighters Rep for allowing me to be on this interview, be on this podcast. I love this. I'm so honored to be here. I just want to say thank you to you, Adam, and thank you to Fighters Rep, George, Hamo. Thank you guys. Um, if I had to shout out anyone else, I want to shout out my parents, Mama and Baba, or Abu Sugar Bubby. That's what I call my dad. It's either that or I call him Lardy. uh, just poke the bear a little bit.
Right.
I love you guys. You guys are my everything. Also, my siblings, Junior. I love you, Jugis. He's my autistic brother. My little brother Salah and my sister Zena. And then everyone at the dojo, all my little guys at the dojo. I do this for you guys. Everyone at the dojo, George, Carolyn, Sensei Tom, all the students there, Andy, Michelle, you guys. They're my Andy, Michelle are my black belts, my assistants, and all my little munchkins that I teach every day. You guys are my everything. You guys are the reason why I can get up in the morning and look forward to, doing what I do. All my friends that I have, my family throughout the world. I have family in Arizona, in the Middle East, in Europe. All my family that supports my friends, my best friends from high school. Man, there's too many people to shout out, but everyone that just supports me and loves me and has been there for me throughout this journey. You guys are everything to me, and I wouldn't be able to do it without you guys. So I want to shout out everyone that I could.
That's awesome, man. Well, I want to thank you for lending your time and giving us an in depth look into your training and just your overall martial arts journey. And I can't wait to see what's next for you, man.
Thank you so much. I appreciate
All
everything.
right.
Thank you.
Now, that's it for me, Knucklehead Nation. I'll see you back again next week.